China produces 85 to 90% of the world's rare earth metals. How does this factor into the future where China invades Taiwan? Russia only produces 10% of world's oil. And look at what has happened. Well, I'll just quote Rick Rule from his investment conference in Boca Raton last week, where he said rare earths are not rare at all. And the only thing that's preventing us from getting them ourselves here in the United States is just ESG. And so we're just completely opposed to digging holes in the ground because we want to feel like we're being green and friendly to the planet and yada, 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 regardless of what a cost benefit analysis tells us. So if this were a huge problem, and then I do not think that China is going to invade Taiwan. That it just does not seem to be their style. If you look at history, it's just not how they roll. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying that's what the United States does. We go in and just are aggressive in a way that's very forthright and confrontational. The Chinese are maybe aggressive to the same degree, but rarely is it just in a way that's right in your face. It's usually very subtle and kind of premeditated and more clever, let's say, where the United States is just more brash. And I'm not saying one's right or wrong, but the United States, we want something and we just kind of beat our chest and just go try to take it. Where if you look at the history of the Chinese, they rarely take that approach. I mean, just read Sun Tzu and The Art of War. And I think that gives you kind of a glimpse into their mentality and the way they like to implement these strategies. So, not saying it's impossible, just saying it's would be maybe counter to the way they've done things in the past. What would surprise me a lot less is if they're intentionally locking down their country due to COVID in a way that weakens the United States. That's more their style, where you think they're doing it for one reason, when in reality, they're doing it for a completely different reason that you don't even know about, and they're not telling you. And so, as my father said, not specifically pertaining to the Chinese, but when countries do that, he says they like to play tricks. And I think the Chinese like to play a lot of tricks. And because usually that's the way to win, quote unquote, a war without having to fight. And if you read Sun Tzu, that's usually, if I remember right, that's really the number one objective, is to win without ever having to fight. Where the United States seems to like to fight and win at the same time, but I think sometimes that strategy can be a little less prudent. So, but let's just assume they invade Taiwan. We've got plenty of rare earth here, just depending on the appetite for digging holes in the ground.